Okay, this is my Hawaiian baby woodrose seed trip report. So these seeds are very psychedelic, very psychedelic, and they also have a few side effects to them as well. So I was very aware of these effects before I decided to take them. Like, I knew that they could cause nausea, stomach crampings, your whole body to cramp, your whole body to stop working. So I made sure I was in the right mindset before I decided to go on this journey. So on the morning before I decided to do this trip, I went to a park, sat down, and I did about 20 minutes to half an hour meditation, just to, prepare my body and my mind for what was about to happen. And oh my god, nothing could prepare me for what fucking happened. It was very intense. So these seeds, for a reasonably high trip, people take between 10 to 15 seeds. We took 50. Yeah, fucking 50. But we made it into a tea. So what we did was we soaked the seeds in water, bottled water, for 24 hours. Then we crushed the seeds up. Then we put them into a coffee grinder. Not coffee grinder, a coffee filter thing. And so we decided to pour this into 2 separate glasses. One for me and one for my friend. And we knew something messed up was going to happen, so we started to drink. And the first thing what was happening was my friend started feeling very sick very quick, and he was getting cramps in his stomach. And then he was like, "Look, man, I'm going to be sick very soon." And I was going to be with it. I was aware of what was going on in my body, and I was just letting it do its job. But I started to feel very strange. Maybe about half an hour into it, it was like all of a sudden everything just went dark for a second, and then come back on. It was like my body, it was starting to kind of reset itself. It's trying to reboot itself, I'd say. And then this started happening to me. But then my friend got up, went to the bathroom, and he was sick. He come back and he was just in a bit of pain. I won't talk about his trip too much because we had very different experiences. So then my trip, I then was feeling the nausea. I then went to the bathroom, and then I was then sick, quite a bit. And then I'll come back in, and then I was feeling the horrible cramps in the stomach. I'm guessing maybe it's similar to ayahuasca. I've not been lucky enough to try ayahuasca yet. But I've heard, the nausea and the stomach cramps, that happens when you do the ceremony. So I decided to lay on the floor and just put some meditational music on the TV. So I decided, to meditate for about half an hour. I'm laying on the floor, just focusing on my breathing, and then the whole room shook. It's very hard to explain, but it was just a very powerful shake. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck was that? And then, it happened again. And it was the only way I can explain this is maybe, my teacher was entering the room. The teacher of the plant was coming to teach me. Because, a psychedelic is a teacher. Each psychedelic is a different lesson. If you're in school, you have maths, English, science, and history. A psychedelic is the same. It's different lessons, and a different teacher will come to show you something. So, it started coming on really hard at this point. Then the visuals were kicking in. But the visuals in my mind were nothing compared to what the visuals were like when my eyes were open. I was looking at my hand, and the skin changed. My hands went black, and then my hands went all reptilian-y like. I've heard this from a few other people as well, this can kind of happen. So I was like, fuck, am I a reptilian shapeshifter? What the fuck's going on? It was kind of pretty fucking crazy. And then my eyes went like not even like fucking HD, not even 4K. It was like Ultra HD. Like my eyes were just zooming in. It was like a lens of a camera with a very powerful lens. I was staring at the carpet, the fibres in the carpet, and the fibres were just like becoming so clear. I could see all the different strands of the fibres in the carpet. You know, zooming in on them, like everything was just looking crazy. You know, and then it was like I had this weird feeling like I was being reborn. It was like I was just like dazed and like a smile on my face, like this is the first time I've seen everything. No, I was like a baby being born again. You know, everything just become beautiful, and then I was discovering myself. I was like, what's it? I have a nose? I was like, dude, I have a nose. I've got ears. You know, I was really weird, like discovering, you know, I'm human. It was incredible. But then I kind of come to the conclusion, like, is this what it's like? Because you know, we don't know where we come from. Like before we're born, where are we? You know, are we in infinite consciousness, what is floating around, and then our consciousness comes into the body? So when a baby's crying when it's born, is it because it's just been free and now it's stuck in this body and it's like, fuck, what's going on? Like, whoa, I was floating around a minute ago, now I'm a baby? What the fuck's going on? You know, and obviously babies can see things. Like from the age of like 0 to maybe like 4 or 5, they're very in touch with like seeing some very strange things. Like they'll stare at the wall for ages and just start smiling. Like what the fuck are they staring at? You know, babies, psychedelic. You know, if we eat a baby, are we gonna trip? Don't eat a baby. I was only joking, but it's kind of cool. And you know, after this, it was like I couldn't walk. So the next stage was like discovering my body, but obviously the next stage was discovering how to walk. I couldn't walk. Like I just could not walk. Physically, my legs were just not working. I had to like will myself to get up. Like really work on getting up. But when I got up, it was like my perception of reality had just thrown out the fucking window. Like the size of my room just become, you know, my living room and my kitchen just become like twice as big. Things would just become really big. You know, it was like things were just moving. Like seeing like some geometric kind of patterns. You know, it was a fucking crazy experience. And in the meantime, my friend's on the sofa and he's just like, oh, my stomach hurts. So yeah, I kind of felt bad for him. I felt the cramping coming in my stomach, and then I was like, you know what? I control you. You don't control me. This cramping doesn't mean anything. And it's why certain breathing, my cramping went. And then, you know, I was back laying on the floor, and I was saying to my friend, I was like, dude, do you think we can just like cure ourselves with like the power of our mind? Because I was staring at my body and like focusing on certain parts of my skin. Like I was just seeing like circuits. It was fucking crazy to explain. It was very different to the LSD trip I had. You know, it was very different. And this is something like many people, if I asked them, would you ever do this again? They're like, no, fuck that. I would. Honestly, I would. I had such an amazing trip with this that I would definitely do this again within a heartbeat. You know, so like later on, like my friend, he went home and I obviously stayed here, and I was just like laying on my sofa and I was just a smile on my face. I was just like, wow, this is just fucking awesome. But the thing is, I can't even explain what happened in this trip because it was, I can't use the words. I don't have the language to explain what was happening. It was so fucking intense. It's like, you know, watching a trip report is awesome, but having the experience is so much better. And that's kind of another thing I realised. It's like, we waste this time watching people on YouTube or on television, living an experience, and we're always just like, oh wow, that's amazing, and then we forget about it. But, you know, life isn't about the end result. You know, it's about what we do in between. It's about the experiences we live and the journeys we go on. And each person has their own individual journey, each individual road to walk down. And with the psychedelic, you know, you accept who you are. You know, people will say, oh yeah, I had a bad trip. But I think a bad trip is to do if you can't accept yourself. If you cannot look in the mirror and appreciate the flesh you are, then you create a spiritual imprisonment. So then when you take a psychedelic, the psychedelic pulls all the bullshit away. It knocks down them walls and it shows you who you are. So that's why people will have a bad trip, because they don't want to accept who they are as a human. You know? So this concludes this trip report, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. My next trip report is going to be about my experience with truffles, which I am going to go on that journey in about 20 minutes. I'm going to go for a nice walk over to the park. This is the first time I'm tripping on my own. So, you know, it's the middle of winter. I'm going to go over to the park. It takes about half an hour to an hour to kick in. So I'm going to just sit there for maybe the half an hour. When I start feeling something come on, I'll take a slow walk back here, and then, you know, maybe I'll listen to some Alan Watts or some Terence McKenna, but who knows what's going to happen, you know, just see what this teacher wants to teach me. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care and have an awesome weekend.